Check. Yep, we are good. All right, so happy Sabbath, y'all. Most High in Christ bless. Check something real quick. So tonight's topic is there is a thin line between. There's a thin line between. There was a movie made called the same thing, and I would assume people understand what I'm talking about. Um, for those that don't know, the phrasing goes, there is a thin line between love and hate, right? I think I'm going to say a happy Sabbath, by the way, or incoming Sabbath. Um, Sorry, y'all. Uh, okay. All right. All right. Happy Sabbath, y'all. Most High in Christ bless. Thin line between. The phrasing goes as a thin line between love and hate. This is like if you can see like the class picture, right? There's a sister standing in front of a flag, um, the American flag, and you know the concept of the flag is for those that are being real, it's a difficult concept to grasp. For those that are blind patriots or have blind patriotism, it's easy to kind of explain it away or have this idea or this concept of a squeaky clean America. And that's just a disingenuous take wholeheartedly. Um, to embody what people say to believe that the flag is a representation of freedom, of equality, of what you would consider to be brotherly love. That's like the concept of America. You're weak, you're poor, you're sick, whatever. And that may be, this might be the case. It may be, no, that won't work. I was going to say it may be the case for one side of the table, right? Because white people might take that stance and be like, this is actually what this country is. It would be a lie because in their own documentation it says that all men are created equal, which we know that to be a lie based on the mechanics of how this place works. Be it the judicial system, be it uh, taxes, be it housing, be it education, whatever it may be. The discrepancies are just so highlighted that a person would have to be blind to not see these things happening. So it's just a disingenuous take. The problem is that the slaves or the children that come from the slaves have taken on the mentality of the slave master to believe that the flag is what they say it is, even though it's contradictory to everything that they say they see in real time. And this puts us in a difficult predicament as our people because not moving according to how you actually see something can cause a lot of damage, right? This is just a fantasy world that people are living in. The thought process of wanting something so much to be something that you actually bring that fantasy to life, which means just delusion, it's not reality, will put you in a seesaw battle between your flesh or your mind, your fleshly thought process versus what your understanding in your heart and your core is telling you. But there is some overlap in, like the scriptures talk about in Ecclesiastes, about giving somebody a gift can destroy somebody's heart. And that's where we find ourselves as a people, based on certain things that this place allows you to do or get away with. And that's endearing enough to people to bypass everything else or to be selective in their outrage when they feel like it, right? So you have, let's open up with Ecclesiastes 10. Um, yeah, let's open up with Ecclesiastes 10. Um, Ecclesiastes 10 and 1. It says, dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savor. So doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor, right? So before you had like the Rockefellers in like the 30s, I think, when they put people that were operating holistically on ice and they ran propaganda to make them wackos. They took over the medical industry in order to push propaganda and to get whatever end goal they wanted solidified, which essentially, well, at the time, a person maybe not know, because a lot of these things, Esau, the so-called white man, does things behind the scenes. But now that you have access to be able to look up these things and the thought processes of people at the time, you understand that their agenda was to just move people into this um, pharmaceutical practice to run this propaganda to make those that actually heal people healthy, to make them look crazy in order to get people off of that and into following what they wanted, right? And they control the medical industry. You notice how every time you're watching something, you always see 1,000 different side effects for some medicine. Nobody ever, you never run to a doctor, which is fascinating. You never run to a doctor and they say, hey, your issue is, I'm not going to give you these pills. What I'm going to tell you to do is eat more greens, mix in fruits, do this consistently, and your diabetes or your high blood pressure will go away. They might say, for instance, my dad had recently was in the hospital, and I asked the doctor when I was in the room with him, how high would you say the diet is on the list of things he needs to correct? And the doctor was like, well, fourth or fifth on the list. I'd focus on the medication. I'd focus on X, Y, and Z. Now, mind you, in 1810, there was no CVS, right? Somehow, some way, all these generations, people are figuring out how to be healthy, X, Y, and Z. People are talking about, women are talking about now. I've seen people talking about how they're just figuring out what's the thing called when they have when a woman has a child. I was about to say post-traumatic stress syndrome. It's not PTSD. It's I forget the term, man. Somebody's gonna see it and understand what it is right away. I'm just blanking on it. But um the essentially like this possibility to do bipolar personality once a child comes out of the womb, right? A woman's going through I gotta look this up. It's gonna annoy me. Um I can't believe I can't think of the word. Um, Postpartum. I'm thinking of post-traumatic stress. I never figured out if I just keep trying to rack my brain. Postpartum depression, right? They're saying they're just figuring this out now. Just like you have Jewish people talking about Oh, well, we use the Talmud to help people understand the oral tradition of they didn't know how to do clean circumcisions back then. So Solomon, which we're in the book now, the wisest king that ever lived, didn't understand circumcision. Abraham, when it was given to him, didn't understand circumcision. But now we have to look at Rabbi Levi to understand how you're supposed to do these things cleanly. It's all propaganda and all lies, right? When we look at people like apothecaries, right, it might take, I looked this up, which would just make sense plainly. If you have something you're looking up, it could take 5 minutes to crush whatever medicinal thing you're using to alleviate a symptom that you have, or it could take 6 weeks to truly put something together on a regimen to fix or heal an ailment that a person has, right? But that process can be painstaking and it has to be done correctly, or else one fly, let alone dead flies, this is plural here, one fly can ruin an entire batch because it can turn something that's supposed to be pure into something that's toxic, right? So even if it's a 5 minute thing, a 2 hour thing, 6 weeks, whatever it may be, leveling this understanding with the scripture we're looking at is based on comparing this to reputation. We know that reputation is not built in 5 minutes, it's not built in 10 hours. A reputation can be a lifelong thing, right? So the second part says, so doth a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honor, right? A little bit of foolishness can ruin a reputation, a person that has a reputation of wisdom and honor, right? Now we know, again, apothecary can take a few minutes to make something that they need versus somebody being 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. Reputation would lean on the side of a more heavy situation or a long duration of time building a reputation because it can take 10, 20, 30 years to build a reputation, right? It can be a lifetime thing. It depends. Things happen, things change, right? But you can earn the reputation through consistency or repetition, right? For instance, actually, let's go to Genesis real quick. This is a because this happens quite often, right? Um, Go to Genesis 39. Genesis 39. Some people probably already know what I'm talking about, where I'm going, right? You think about, and you can look this up, and this is consistent and robust, right? It's been plenty of cases like this. Think about a man that has an otherwise spotless reputation in every metric you want to measure, right? Overall, the consensus is this is a good man, right? And then you have an accusation from a woman come from a girl, as the scriptures talk about. The scriptures call it. He took her, right? He physically assaulted her sexually, right? And she hurls out the accusation. Now, typically, what happens is, especially if it's a situation of a brother versus a white woman, the impact is severely different versus a black man, black woman, X, Y, and Z, right? Even to a white man and a white woman, it's the scenario and the reverberating effect of hearing that and seeing that is different because women's tears are, and I understand it because just being a man, you understand there's a there's a visceral protection that pops up in a man's mind, even if he sees a woman that's just crying in the distance, like somebody harmed her, everybody, what's wrong, what happened. But women can know that can be used as a weapon. It's a powerful tool, especially same thing coming from white women to the other side, right? So a man can have a reputation like that, and it can be destroyed in an instant, right? So Genesis 39, verse 7. It says, and it came to pass after these things. Now this is Joseph after his brethren sell him, and he winds up from the hands of the Ishmaelites to the Egyptians, and he winds up in Pharaoh's house, and he's been there for a while, and we all know as the story goes, similar to Moses, Joseph rose up in Pharaoh's house, right? In stature, in positioning, right? These things, verse 7, and it came to pass that after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in this house, and he have committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Right? So, in order for Joseph to rise to this position in Pharaoh's house, to be nobody greater than him, he ain't Egyptian. In order to raise like this, two things have to be true, and they run together. One, the Most High's got to be with you. And two, you have to have a good reputation. Good, by definition, is talking about biblical good. Not everybody else is good. But knowing that you're biblically good, God's with you, right? So in order for Joseph to raise to that position, he has to have a good reputation, right? Because the scriptures are good, not just understanding dealing with Israel or your neighbor, but also dealing with other people, right? How you move. So Joseph's in that position because of what he's done. His reputation is good. This woman's trying to ruin it. Now, uh, verse 10. And it side note, side note. Anybody that comes to you and tells you when you're talking about the law, come here, and they say things like, you're a Pharisee because you're trying to keep Moses' law. Ask them when the law was given that you can't commit adultery or take another man's wife. You see this pattern in Genesis 20, but the proclamation is not given until Exodus 20, right? So somebody says, oh, you're trying to keep Moses' law. How did they know this? How did Joseph know this is wrong? I'm not going to sin against God by taking somebody else's wife. Even though you see the example of Abraham in Genesis 20, doesn't necessarily make the difference. It's just judgment on somebody taking somebody else's wife. But it says it in Exodus 20. Just a side note. There's many other places for the exact same thing, right? Verse 10, and it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So he takes off. As she's trying to force herself on him, he takes off. Verse 13. And it came to pass when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, see, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass when he heard that it lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out. Now, she is a liar and a hoe, right? But Pharaoh comes home and he believes her, which, again, a man hearing from his wife that XYZ happened, his initial instinct is to do such and such. But that's different based on reputation, or the hesitation would give you a pause because of a person's reputation. So Joseph gets thrown into prison, right? Now, a, a total collapse of a person's reputation shouldn't hinge on an accusation without proof, right? That shouldn't take place. Although, hence Joseph, this situation happens, and we have modern examples, right? Times of modernity, exactly like this same thing playing out. Brothers spending years in jail, other things of somebody's accusation not being proven, and then later on they come out and say, "Oh, I was lying," or "I was scared," or "I had a boyfriend at the time," X, Y, and Z. Most of the time, they're not brought to justice. They're not punished for their crimes, right? So that can happen. But surely the person on the receiving end of the accusation knows that if the accuser has a pattern of doing these things, making accusations, making false assumptions, that one good gesture here and there from that individual should still be understood that you can't trust them, right? A hi or a hey or an opening of the door or here's a piece of my meal or every now and then does something good. A person should know if that person has a reputation like that, that's who they are because that reputation is built through consistency, right? And repetition. So if a person understands that, a gesture here and there shouldn't sway that person's mind, right? In other words, like per Solomon, as Solomon said, if a little folly or a little bit of foolishness can ruin an otherwise spotless reputation quickly, surely a little kindness cannot save somebody's terrible reputation, right? If you know this person to have a track record like this, then just them doing something shouldn't have your mindset being, oh, they're a good person now. That's stupid. It's got to work both ways, even though one way is unfair and unjust. The other way surely can be true because you got a track record, right? The track record on the good side should hold up, but oftentimes, depending on how severe the accusation, it doesn't. Brings me to the example of this love and hate relationship, this thin line between love and hate, right? That our people have. This Nolan Wells situation, the people that don't know, there's a brother that's disappeared off the boat. If anything, I'm not a person, I don't have telepathy, I wasn't there, I don't know. So me saying I know the outcome or what truly happened versus the outcome can be two completely different things. I don't know. I don't think most of us do. The people that were there know. But under any circumstance, this story ain't looking good and is looking like a consistent pattern of things that always happen, right? Torah postpartum. Thank you, sis. That 12. I just saw that. Thank you, sis. Um, a consistent pattern of behavior that our people are consistently under. This ain't nothing new. Now, anybody should have suspicion, right? The scriptures tell us we're supposed to use the law, understand the matter, and then judge it. The problem is that Isaiah tells us that the law is slacked in this place. So people are going to rally around whatever is beneficial for them. In this situation, a person that's a judge, their kid, whatever, right? And our people need to understand this concept so this consistent pattern stops happening. This is a reputation that Esau has built. This ain't a little bit of foolishness. This is who they are. And consistently, our people find themselves in a situation where they, I don't even want to say they look to the good side, right? You have to be aware of the circumstances and the position that you are in and who you're dealing with, right? Let's go to Sirach 13. Let's use a far out example, right? To hopefully draw in. Sirach 13 in verse 2. It says, burden not thyself above thy power while thou livest, and have no fellowship with one that is mightier and richer than thyself. For how agree the kettle and the earthen pot together? For if the one be smitten against the other, it shall be broken. Now, the scriptures is letting the reader know there's a level of wisdom that needs to be applied, even when you're dealing with a person that's just in a different tax bracket than you. Just financially, a person, there's got to be wisdom in everything. Wisdom is the principal thing. So there is no situation that you run into on a day-to-day basis that's just not spiritual. That's just not really a thing. You have to understand how to view it spiritually, right? So There's circumstances on how a person's operating when a person that got more money than you. If that requires wisdom, surely other things that we would need to draw more attention to or need us to have pay more attention to should surely operate with a level of wisdom. We need to have and understand it, right? Verse 3, the rich man have done wrong, and yet he threateneth withal. The poor is wrong, and he must entreat also. If thou be for his if thou be for his profit, he will use thee. But if thou have nothing, he will forsake thee. Right? Verse 3, the rich man have done wrong, and yet he threateneth, and the poor is wronged, and he must entreat. And you see this happen to us all the time. A level of justice shouldn't be measured on how much money you have, but that's America, right? If you got a good lawyer, he can get you off. If you get stuck with a court appointed attorney, you might do 10 times the timeline you were supposed to do, even if you did it or if you was innocent. It's just based on it's based on funds. You see all these politicians doing the God knows what under the sun, and their names ain't even brought up to come to. You still people waiting on Epstein case for anybody to be brought to justice. You got the actual witnesses. You got the actual, the witnesses and the victims, testimony, everything. The scriptures tell you 2 or 3 witnesses. They ain't even on the docket to be brought up. But that's America for you, right? Verse 5, if thou have anything, he will live with thee. Yea, he will make thee bear and will not be sorry for. If he have need of thee, he will deceive thee and smile upon thee and put thee in hope. He will speak thee fair and say, what wantest thou? And he will shame thee by his means until he have drawn thee dry twice or thrice, and at the last he will laugh thee to scorn. Afterwards, when he seeth thee, he will forsake thee and shake his head at thee. Beware that thou be not deceived and brought down in thy jollity. Israel, this happy-go-lucky attitude often with being caught up in happiness, being caught up with events that would deem people to come together, right? Like the 4th of July. That looks happy, that looks joyous, that looks like we're just trying to have a good time. This been my friend since forever, right? St. Patrick's Day, birthdays, Thanksgiving, whatever these instances are that seem to bring people together, our people are consistently confused with who they're getting in relationship with, close proximity with, that will always be their downfall. And this is always a consistent thing. It's the same thing for Israel in general. When you look at Judges 2, the Lord said, I left them just to judge you. We're going to figure out what side of the fence you're on. You want to follow the Most High or you want to follow the other nations? Israel doesn't understand their power. So-called blacks and Hispanics don't know their power in position or relation to this creation itself. You're supposed to be above everybody else. That's not a negotiable thing. It's not supposed to be feeling bad about. That's what the Lord said. It ain't got nothing to do with us. We didn't make that rule and that standard. The Most High said that. Which is fascinating because the flip side is if you tell the other nations that they're on top, they don't have no problem with it. Hell, they already believe it. They don't have no they don't have no remorse for looking at and celebrating murder, and they don't care. They're proud. Our people have this double Dutch mentality of in and out, in and out. Unjust, love the country, unjust. This is our mentality over and over again. That's why it's fascinating. If the Most High waited on us collectively to say, we need you to step in, Most High wouldn't even know when to do it. One day he looks at you and was like, I need to get out of here. Next day it's just like, I love this country. God bless America. You pick up the mentality of the people that you're around. Like I didn't read it for a reason, but now we can read it. Verse 1. He that toucheth pitch shall be defiled therewith. And he that hath fellowship with a proud man shall be like unto him. This mindset that you pick up, it's the same thing that you're getting. It's a learned behavior, right? That pitch is like tar or asphalt. If you touch it, it's going to be, especially whatever type of state it's in, right? It immediately gets on you. It sticks to you. That spirit of that mentality sticks to you. Evil communication corrupts good manners. It's consistent. You hang out and you become what you hang out with, I should say. Verse 9. If thou be invited of a mighty man, withdraw thyself, and so much the more will he invite thee. Press thou not upon him, lest thou be put back, and stand not far off, lest thou be forgotten. Affect not to be made equal unto him in talk, and believe not his many words. For with much communication will he tempt thee, and smiling upon thee will he get out thy secrets, right? But cruelly he will lay up thy words, and will not spare to do thee hurt, and to put thee in prison. Observe and take good heed, for thou walkest in peril of thy overthrowing. When thou hearest these things, awake in thy sleep. Love the Lord all thy life, and call upon him for thy salvation, right? This is the mentality we're supposed to have. Because again, the Most High is the one that's dispensing wisdom, and you need wisdom to get through this sick world every day. So now this shifts a bit. There's still the same premise, but this is what I mean by looking far out to draw back in to make more sense. Sirach 3, and I always mention this, that the Lord shows us more things than we can understand. And when you go outside, I don't care where you at, step outside and look around. Sit down, listen, look around. The world will teach you a lot of different things, right? There's order to this place. Verse 15. Every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor. All flesh consorteth according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. Meaning the beasts stick with the beast, depending on what classification you're in. The zebras, make sure with the zebras, right? The lions are with the lions. What are the hummingbirds with? The hummingbirds. It makes sense. Somehow, the people that have the most intelligence can't figure this out, right? Verse 17, what fellowship hath the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly. What agreement is there between a hyena and a dog, and what peace between the rich and the poor? As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. As the proud hate humility, so doth the rich man abhor the poor. Now let's use this example, this animal kingdom, right? These animals stick together. What relationship does the hyena and the dog have? What relationship does the godly man and the sinner have? They shouldn't be compatible because they ain't. It's not possible. You can try your best with the oil and water thing. It ain't going to mix. But you can take oil and water and just sit it in a container. Act like it mixed. Act like it's supposed to be in it together. It still doesn't change the fact that they can't mix, right? Let's go to Hosea 2. One second. Bear with me 1 second, y'all. So yeah, I'm a text you in a second.
Okay, are you good?
Yeah.
You still want me to get it or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So no, wait for the text.
Oh, you leave yet?
No.
Okay.
So let's go to Hosea 2, right? Hosea chapter 2 and verse 1. Hosea 2 and verse 1. It says, Say ye unto your brethren, Ami, and to your sisters, Ruamah, plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, neither am I her husband. Let her therefore put away her whoredoms out of her sight, and her adulteries from between her breasts. Lest I strip her naked, and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. Now Hosea, the prophet Hosea, was given a command to carry out something. And Shalom Sadak, happy Sabbath, bro. Hosea was given a commandment on what he was supposed to, the mission he was supposed to undertake, to take an unfaithful woman, in order to us to express to us the understanding that the way that we operate, running every different god, doing all kinds of different things, especially in the Northern Kingdom, we can feel that and understand what it's like. It's not a good feeling, right? Most High is doing the exact same thing to us. Let's just match fire with fire. So Israel becomes unjust children, and the Most High curses them for it. But per the promise that was given to Abraham moving forward, down to Isaac and down to Jacob, the Most High is not a man that he should lie. So the promises are still going to be given to Israel, right? So now the restoration has to be there if the promises are there, right? So let's jump down to verse 14. Verse 14 says, Therefore, behold, I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak comfortably with her. Verse 15, I will give her vineyards from thence and the valley of Achor for a door of hope. Keep that in mind, Achor. The valley of Achor for the door of hope. And she shall sing there as in the days of her youth, and as in the day when she came up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be at that day, saith the Lord, that thou shalt call me Ishi, and shall call me no more Baali, right? The Lord's going to fulfill the promise and take us back in marriage as given to the son, right? Christ is bride, he's the bridegroom, Israel is the bride given to his son. The marriage is going to take place and the restoration is going to happen. This is what this is talking about, right? Now, verse 17, for I will take away the names of Balaam out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And in that day will I make a covenant with them of the beasts of the field, and with the fowls of heaven, and with the creeping things of the ground. And I will break the bow and the sword in the battle of the earth, and will make them to lie down safely. Now, fixing on the Sirach 13 about this understanding of who the beasts are supposed to be with. They can sort unto their like, right? Let's go to Isaiah real quick, and I'll explain what I mean. Isaiah 65, verse 23. It says, They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. Verse 24. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, thus saith the Lord. Now, why am I emphasizing this? If we understand, well, Israel's supposed to understand, they don't. We understand biblically that we just look at the earth and understand that these beasts stick with the beasts of their kind, right? The zebras don't scream out racism when they don't accept the lions into their, I don't know what you call them, their pack, right? The flies are not pissed off that the bald eagle's not hanging out with him. It's just the way the Most High set an order to this thing. When the time comes that a wolf and a lamb can be together, it's got to be a cosmic shift to even set the beast by each other without friction, without drama, without being at each other's necks. The Most High's got to shift the earth back into its axis correctly in order for the wolf and the lamb to not go at each other. That's what the animals. Now, why would the people think if the Most High's got to set the earth right and lift the curse for the animals to be together? Why would our people think that it's supposed to be some mindset? We're just supposed to be together no matter what. Little Johnny grew up with Taekwon, right? That's our names nowadays. Little Johnny grew up with Taekwon. I know who he is, therefore we're friends, right? This is the wrong mentality to have, and this is the reason why we keep finding ourselves in these situations. Again, I don't know. None of us know what not the outcome. None of us know what actually happened to Noah Wells. But we do know this story's it's not adding up. But that would be a run-of-the-mill thing, right? Because, like we was talking about in Ecclesiastes 10, this is a reputation built with these people. And I don't, for the life of me, our people, and I had mentioned this to my daddy, I mentioned this just in the past before. There's nobody that hates black people more than black people. And there's nobody that loves white people more than black people. It's just not a thing. It's a sickness in the mind that our people have to do this. And this, which is ironic, that the thing that brings us together consistently is trauma from other people. Like our being beat down, it seems to be the only thing that unites us together, but only for a period of time, right? So let's go to Job 39. Herds. Zebras have herds. Thank you, brother. Job 39. Job 39 in verse 13. It says, "Gavest thou goodly wings unto the peacocks, or wings and feathers unto the ostrich?" This is just the Lord talking to Job in his time of trouble, right? It's the genius behind the design. We know who the author of it is, and we know he set these things in order, and they run like clockwork. It's just the greatest creation is always off kilter, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? "Which leaveth her eggs in the earth and warmeth them in the dust." Verse 15, "And forgetteth that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them." Now, this is not a normal behavior, which, again, ironically, we're going to the point. Ironically, our sisters are now acting like this today with their young ones, either terminating them in the womb or not caring about them when they come out. But hence the situation. I'm not absolving the men in these situations. They shouldn't be running around impregnating women either. But verse 16, "She is hardened against her young ones as though they were not hers, and her labor is in vain without fear." Here's the kicker though. Verse 17, "Because God have deprived her of wisdom, neither have he imparted to her understanding." When you go to Sirach 17, you know what the Lord gave us? Understanding and wisdom. If there's no delineation between how we operate and how the animals operate, we got a problem. So this thought process, we have to come to terms with. You've got to abandon this Martin Luther King, "I have a dream" thing, because the other side is never going to play fair. Like, I was talking to my brother earlier, and I was telling him, I said, it's fascinating how the Obadiah 1 thing, if he's just gonna, that's all he does, he takes and he takes and he takes. That's what he does. This country is running into the ground. It's set for judgment already. I'm not talking about upholding America as if it was some great thing. But the thought process of where America, the baseline is, at least for the other side, the other nations, they know what that is, right? This has never been a friend to us. But their baseline is even going below what they think it should be, right? It's going into the toilet, per what American would say. Esau don't care because his thought process and his spirit is to destroy and take. The only way to stop him is to put hands on him. And it's the same thing the Lord's got to do when he comes back. He has to. There is no negotiating with him. It just won't. You can't talk him down. It just won't work. He's the guy that's on the ledge and he's going to jump. There's nothing you can say, no negotiator you can bring in. This is his set goal, and this is what he was designed to do, and he is efficient at his goal. So there is no, man, why can't we just get along? And every single time you see something pop up with our people pop in these comment sections, taking screenshots to show you childhood images of how we can make this work and we can all unite is crazy talk. I keep mentioning reputation because that's the reputation they've built. You know what else has a reputation that they built? America. America has a reputation, and we keep ignoring the reputation to our detriment. You keep trying to fantasize this idea of, yes, one day we will, one day we will accomplish this goal. One day we will be united. You've got to stop, man. The thought process has got to die. We can't be accepted among God people. Mitch McConnell being alive or brain dead is allegory to this country. People just don't know. It's just it's a sickness that has to go away because our people, you're trying to, like the Lord says, you can't make something straight that he made crooked and vice versa, right? The Lord does this. You can't fight against it. No many times in the churches you go on Sunday, no matter the white stained glass Jesus you see on the wall, there's nothing you can do. The scriptures say what they say, and the Most High is not about to relinquish power or subvert his order in order to please the creation. It's not going to happen. This is just the way it is, and our people need to accept it. And it seems to be like a Jeremiah 5. The Lord said, no matter how many times I beat you, it seems like y'all in the same mindset, but it seems to be. This is the only way out to put hands on our people to the point where they have to, it forces them. And it's going to be some throwaways, right? Like there's not going to be a situation, there's a slave revolt and people, everybody's going to be on the same side. There's going to be some straddling the fence, some in the house, in the big house, some straddling the fence. They're going to have to go because you can't fix it. Everybody's not going to be like you. Being in the street and talking to people and giving them what heaven looks like, they don't want no part of that, which is crazy talk because they don't, that idea of perfection with Israel on top, they don't like that. They want it. Why can't the other people be here? And then you give them the evidence. Look at this case. Look at this case. Look at this case. They had somebody tell us years ago, the sister, somebody had got shot by a cop, I think. And the thought process from the sister we talked to, older sister, was talking about you need to just give him more love. Just pray for him more. And I'm like, y'all gotta, this is a crazy mentality. Let's go to 2 Ezra 15. You can't fix what is not supposed to be fixed, right? The same way the Most High has this process going, there's no fixing it. It needs to be this way. It's operating as it should. The same way when you have a white boy touch a girl and get off because some judge got compassion on him about, well, he got a great future ahead of him. I don't want to put him in jail. And then that actually happened. I think it was that Stanford kid. I don't want to put him in jail, X, Y, and Z. He took some girl behind a dumpster, which is crazy. Like, then you see a brother get caught with a dime bag or something, and they trying to throw the book at him. I'm not telling you to go around with Bud. I ain't telling you to do that either. But just like Romans 13 talks about how the Most High says, I set these rulers in place. If you're doing good, you're good to go. If you decide to do evil, you better fear because he don't swing that sword in vain. So even on the other side of us, a situation where a person is not doing anything wrong, right? Which would be to our eye. I'm not talking about biblically. There's a lot of things everybody doing wrong biblically. But even hanging out with people looks like drinking underage. These things shouldn't be done because it's going to put you in a predicament. And now we're going to have to revisit this same case is matching this case and matching this case. And the same thing consistently happens, right? 2 Ezra 15 and verse 1. It says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. And it's what we keep saying. People talking about this is imaginary God coming out the sky. None of this prophecy just proves this stuff over and over and over again. It's faithful and it's true and it's written down for us to understand, for our learning. The same thing that happened to Joseph in Egypt, the same thing happens today. The same thing that happened to John the Baptist, the same thing that happens today. It's the same thing over and over again. Verse 3, fear not the imaginations against thee, let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Just incredulity just means people that just don't believe. Just no matter what you show them or tell them, and we got plenty of them, right? Verse 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. And this is where the Most High consistently throws out the judgment. And I don't know what your answer is going to be, because the same process keeps running and the same people keep getting hit. And you keep trying to force this square peg in a round hole. And the circumstances and the outcomes are what they are. Verse 5, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Somebody was given a gift of using the sword to just navigate the earth, right? We all know who that is. Verse 6, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore thus saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and the righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually, right? We have a history. Like, our people have a well-documented history with all nations, but a particular set of people. I don't know what else somebody wants to go off outside of consistency, that the person that showed you who he was on Monday and Tuesday and Thursday and did a good thing on Friday and then Saturday is back to the same thing. I don't know what would convince people that this person just turned over a new leaf. Now you have, and to be fair, you have because I'm trying to be consistent, right? You have I forgot his name. I don't know if it was John Brown, one of the abolitionists that died on the what you would consider the right side of history to free slaves, right? I want to be because if somebody sees this video and they say something like, I guess they can say the same thing that Noah Wells said, which is wild. I ain't never seen somebody do this. I've had people that's good on this side. I've had X, Y, and Z. What you're saying isn't true. Fair enough. I'm not saying that all Israelites are righteous, right? As the scriptures call us the precious of the Lord. Is that every Israelite? You got a Judas out there. You got Pharisees out there. Is that the truth? No, not all Israelites. But the overall premise for our nation, that's the standard we're supposed to set, and the Most High is shifting this thing to get the rotten fruit off the tree. So there's going to be a remnant, right? Now, looking at the other nations that don't fit what you would consider to be the criteria for the typical demon, interestingly, if you match them against scripture specifically, they'll still fit the characteristics of a demon. It's just face to face on a human level. They don't look to be as bad as everybody else. Nonetheless, you still have commandments on how you're supposed to operate. That still don't bring us together in unity. They don't make no sense. We're still supposed to be separate. The Most High said it this way. So no matter whatever person you see from another nation, he's done good things for me. And maybe that person, that Indian kid, will never shift off of quote unquote being nice to you. That does not give you carte blanche to marry them, to be with them. The Most High set this rule up for a reason. It's better to have precautions in place than to try to fix something when something went haywire. This is the way the Most High set the standard up, and it's to avoid all situations and to leave us in a state where the earth can be healed, because we're supposed to be in this position to be on top ruling this thing, because once you see it in other people's hands, you see what they do. They're not going to stop. It's not, they can't, their purpose is not to fix it, it's to cause mass chaos. And again, they're good at it. John Brown. They're good at it. But again, if that's what the Most High created them to be, then they're not going to deviate the path. It's the greatest demon ever. Great at his job. The history of this place. As you have the innocent, I don't know how many voices you would hear of the innocent crying, from the ships to the water to the soil in America, of all this stuff that's happened. Numbers 35. Numbers 35. Numbers 35 in verse 30. It says, "Whoso killeth any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. But one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die." That's the law, right? You can't bring an accusation from one person in a matter of death, in a matter of many situations. One witness can't do it. It has to be multiple, which just makes sense, right? Corroboration makes the testimony stronger, right? That's even just fair. Just when you're thinking about in a court system, it's just fair. That's how the scriptures are. Verse 31, "Moreover, ye shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death." Now, when you look up this chapter, right, Israel had cities of refuge. If a person were to I don't like to, for all intents and purposes, we'll use the word accidentally, because essentially it is, let's use the biblical word, unawares. Let's put it that way. A person's not set on premeditated decapitating somebody, but somebody loses their life. In order to quench the thirst of blood for the person that has been wronged on the side, like if, let's say, a nephew loses his life, this man, he died at the hands of him, somebody else. But it wasn't premeditated. It wasn't done purposely. But that vengeance is going to rise up in that person. In order to quench that, this person can go to the cities of refuge to take time out there, and they got to stay in these cities to prevent the revenger of blood to get what they essentially are trying to quench, right? But this is based on something unaware. It's not purposeful, right? This is how it's supposed to be done in our law. Was convicted and sentenced to death and is dead now because an old Edomite woman on her dying bed said his name attacked her. And this, you gotta that in Sadak, it's the same thing with this. This man is running a whole gambit of rewriting history of Matt Walsh, another full-blown demon. And again, it's like he's a true of a iron rustif, right? Like this man looked like he was just normal from years ago, from what I've seen of him, right? Everybody, you guys change when they get in the spotlight, or more of it comes out. And this man's on a tirade. Slavery didn't happen like this. It wasn't as bad as they say it was. Emmett Till's father was X, Y, and Z, and he's doing this, and he made this. I'm not saying it's justified what happened to him, but I'm saying it's justified what happened to him. This is another full-blown demon, right? And this is them. Look at them for what they are, right? They will justify any, and it don't matter what it is. You can just go in comment sections. It's fascinating to see the narrative shift. If it's a person lacking melanin, any Rittenhouse, anything, he was an American hero. He was a patriot. Guy did the same thing. Guy's got a tan on him. Man, this guy's evil. Look at the usual suspects, X, Y, and that's how they are. They can't even judge matters. It's just how they are. The cities of refuge were set up for this purposely, so a person can stay where he's at, so a person wouldn't lose his life, right? But this is an unawares thing. Verse 30 and 31 is talking about a person that knowingly is trying to premeditate and execute somebody, right? You know, it's interesting. Like you'll see cases of a husband. The scriptures talk about how if a woman commits adultery, she's supposed to lose her breath forever, right? And it's interesting, even in this law, the Most High says that's just. I understand the ramifications of something like that because of when you look at records, you look at statistics on how a child is ruined from the parents separating alone, like divorce alone. And that usually is the end result of adultery or something, right? That man can, in this system, that man can lose his house, lose access to his kid. Something she did, he got to pay her. That can enrage a person to the point where you make a decision that you want back. But fascinatingly enough, she can walk around and get another guy and just live off your dime. But this is the system. This is the heart of this place. And the scriptures talk about the right judgment for that is she's supposed to be up out of here. And that seemingly would understand from a logical perspective, at least from a human being, that would quench that thirst, right? You would always have that in your mindset or back pocket to see your wife walking around with somebody else, you paying her, always thinking these thoughts of doing something. But if you get them out of there, and people always look at you and be like, that's crazy. You think somebody should die because they committed adultery? That's how you fix a society. No more of the BS. That's how you fix it. Because this place is just nothing but free ball. You can do whatever you want. The judgments, I'll execute the judgment on this day, and then October 15th is different. That's this system. That's why it's haywire. The Most High set these things up staunchly. You do this, we'll execute you. This will be a public thing. So everybody can see it. Everybody won't do it no more. That's how you fix it, right? But this is just the system itself. You can't even fix this thing. It's just got a this country's got a set time limit to get out of here because you can't consistently run a society like this. It's just a matter of time before it eats itself. And we're at that point now. Our people just need to understand how to get out the way. Verse 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defiles the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it, which makes perfect sense. How do you fix it? Get him out of here. You wanted to do X, Y, and Z, get him up out of here. It might, well, still wouldn't be different. If you killed somebody. Well, David got mercy, right? Talking about Israelites and different things. But you might think differently of a person that shows remorse, right? America's not like that. And somebody would look at you and be like, you're lying. They don't. We just had a 250-year celebration of mass murder and slavery just a few days ago. They just celebrated it. Freedom, the greatest country ever. Mind you, the greatest country ever got to this place because of the slavery and because they consistently rob other countries of their minerals and the gold and everything else. So in order to sustain this place, you have to harm other people consistently in order to keep running it. That's why it can't sustain. So there's not even a remorse. They etch out people's. I'll never get over Mount Rushmore, man, because it's a perfect example of a level of pride that you couldn't imagine. And when you talk to people, they just have these weird conversations about, yeah, but it was different then. If Ted Bundy did what he did 6 days ago, would you want to throw him in prison? Oh, yeah. Well, why not the guys that did it 100 years ago? It was different then. So you, a demon, you just want to make excuses over and over again for somebody that looks like you. Well, not even looks like you. Just in order to celebrate what you want to celebrate and put that in the back of your mind, I'm going to set that to the side and I'll just use what I can and pick apart the great things, quote unquote, about America. But its greatness started on bloodshed, like Habakkuk 2 says. What can you do with a city like that? The only way to fix it is to get rid of those that shed the blood. And Isaiah 14 tells us, well, if they ain't around, well, the children got to go. which makes sense because the children are making excuses for the father. It fits perfectly. It fits perfectly. Is that a black woman steering ground in Florida? Yup. Crazy Edomite, and Edomites went in the comment section and said it's her fault. Yup, she needs to go to jail. And it does not, there's no, it's like it gets to the point like a Proverbs 26 thing. I made this joke before about, you know how like, and this kind of goes back to the beast thing. You know how like when you're you can get mad at an animal you have in your house, like a dog or a cat or something. Like same thing with a child. You'll see like a video of a man getting tired of his dog barking is annoying. And then the man barks at the dog and then the dog gets quiet, right? Or the dog just keeps barking. It gets to a point where you become the idiot because the dog still don't know what's going on. And you the one that's intelligent acting like the dog, right? The same thing with like an Edomite. At some point, you get to the point where you're like, why am I even trying to I'm trying to speak logically, and there's no way that they don't understand what I'm saying. No way. If I take one rock with another rock, that's two rocks, right? Yeah, if the white man did it. What if a black man takes one rock and two rocks? Then it's six. That's how they be thinking. Any excuse, it doesn't matter. So there's no way that you can even there's no way to. It seems like if you have this level of an issue, the only thing to do is you have to remove this thing in order for the thing to function well, which makes sense how prophecy is laying these things out. And our people need to see these things. They need to understand what's happening because prophecy is written down and it's coming to pass. And the Most High has got the trumpet out blowing loud for our people. You have got to see what's going on verbatim in your face. There is no way you don't see this thing playing out the way it has to play out. You just got to figure out how to get to the right side before the Most High starts really raining down judgment in this place. Let's go to 2 Chronicles. In a few more minutes. 2 Chronicles 25. 2 Chronicles 25 and verse 5. It says, moreover, Amaziah gathered Judah together and made them captains over thousands and captains over hundreds, according to the houses of their fathers throughout all Judah and Benjamin. And he numbered them from 20 years old and above, and found them 300,000 choice men, able to go forth to war, that could handle spear and shield. He hired also 100,000 mighty men of valor out of Israel for 100 talents of silver. So this is a split time frame when the northern and southern kingdom have divided, right? So Amaziah is drumming up this nation to go fight somebody. We'll find out who that is in a second. And he's trying to gather the northern kingdom as well. Verse 7. But there came a man of God to him, saying, O king, let not the army of Israel go with thee, for the Lord is not with Israel, to wit, with all the children of Ephraim, right? The 10 tribes down, because of what they've done, right? Jeroboam started it, and it's been carrying on from king to king. But if thou wilt go, do it. Be strong for the battle. God shall make thee fall before the enemy, for God hath power to help and to cast down. That's something we got to come to terms with. The Most High is in control. Cast down, lift up. Cast down, lift up. All done by the hand of the Lord. Verse 9. And Amaziah said to the man of God, what shall we do for the 100 talents which I have given to the army of Israel? And the man of God answered, the Lord is able to give thee much more than this. Then Amaziah separated them, to wit, the army that was come to him out of Ephraim, to go home again. Wherefore their anger was greatly kindled against Judah, and they returned home in great anger. So the Lord, Amaziah told them, y'all got to go, right? Because the Lord wasn't with them. Verse 11. And Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went to the valley of Salt and smote of the children of Seir 10,000, right? Verse 12. And other 10,000 left alive did the children of Israel carry away captive, brought them to the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, that they all were broken in pieces. So Amaziah just started running through Edomites, right? Executing them. Verse 13. But the soldiers of the army which Amaziah sent back, that they should not go with him to battle, fell upon the cities of Judah, and from Samaria even unto Betharon, and smote 3,000 of them, and took much spoil. It's just a side. Verse 14. Now it came to pass after Amaziah was come from the slaughter of the Edomites, that he brought the gods of the children of Seir, set them up to be his gods, and bowed down himself before them, and burned incense unto them. In this, again, the scriptures are written for our learning. Be it the gods of these nations. In this place is everything. A Christian nation that has freedom of religion is diabolical. You can worship Buddha, white Jesus, hell, black Jesus. You can worship a tree. You can worship a woman. You can worship money. Anything is this is the demon's playground in this place. Our people, even in history, have been picking up these gods and doing the same thing. I want to be like them. I see them. I want to worship what they worship. I want a king like them. And this is a sickness that our people have to work out. Even though you just witnessed God on your side, dominating these people, being better than them in everything. This is just this instance. But warfare, singing, strength, intelligence, inventions, humility, honor, everything is above these people. And yet, still, there's something in the psyche that you want to go and look like them, be like them, hang around them. And it's the conditioning, I believe, that's one part of it. Especially growing up in this place where you'll, like I often mention this, which is wild. If you would not notice, as a so-called black or Hispanic man or woman, you would not notice if you were traveling from, I don't know, Texas to Maine, right? Just a direct drive, days on end. If you got halfway through, let's say it's a 12-hour drive, I'm sure it's longer than that, 26-hour drive. If you would drive for, let's say, 3 straight hours and you saw nothing but white billboards, you wouldn't think nothing of it. You would just keep going because that's the way this place is built. If you were driving 3 hours and you saw nothing but black billboards, you would be like, that's strange. That's kind of odd. That's the way things should be. But knowing that it's so off and the conditioning is so strong, you pick up on that as something's off. Same thing in any grocery store. Before you check out, it's a white magazine. It's a white commercial. It's a this, it's a that. It's programming. It's the beauty standard of the white woman. This thing that's been hit to your mind to the subconscious level, which is wild because Edom pushes this message, but then they'll have them get upset that they're having interracial marriages, to their own demise. You'll see these things happen often. And I believe that as part of the massive programming that you'd have to not believe, because we're living in a fantasy. This isn't real. Things are going to get right side up. You just can't believe in this thing that they're trying to sell you, this dream that they're trying to sell you, right? Verse 15, wherefore the anger of the Lord was kindled against Amaziah, and he sent unto him a prophet, which said unto him, why hast thou sought after the gods of the people, which could not deliver their own people out of thine hand? Which is a brilliant question. Why would you take on something that you know is weaker than you? Why would you want to follow after that? That doesn't make any sense. It's a sickness, and it's still in modernity today. Last scripture, Leviticus 20 and 24. This is essentially, I haven't read this in a while, but this is the channel, right? This is the Milk and Honey channel. Leviticus 20 and verse 24. It says, I'm going to read it. I'm going to start at verse 22. Ye shall therefore keep all my statutes and all my judgments, and do them, that the land whither I bring you to dwell therein spew you not out. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation which I cast out before you, for they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people. Right? This is the standard. This is the code. This is the order of things. We are supposed to be separate, because once you come in contact a zebra to a lion, they don't eat the same. They don't do things the same. They don't operate the same. You're supposed to stick with your tribe, right? Pun intended. It's supposed to be a thing of unity. It's supposed to be a thing of brotherly love. This is where you start to understand loving your neighbor, right? I'm going to read that one more time. For somebody that might want to use that in the future. Sirach 13 again. Sirach 13 in verse 15. It says, every beast loveth his like, every man loveth his neighbor. That's your Matthew 5, Leviticus 19, right? Understanding this neighbor we're talking about ain't the other nations. The beasts have their neighbor. We are the beast as well, like Ecclesiastes 3. We just have been endowed with wisdom and understanding. We just don't exercise it, but we've been given that ability, and the things that we've been given that the animals don't have that separate us from them. But you can look at the animals, understand creation, and be like, that's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So this is supposed to be a unity or cohesion. This is Zephaniah 2. These people really don't desire you. Y'all need to come together. And this is another example of our people need to understand this. And you're going to have this consistent pushback of, I got the friend, and I got, Tyler he's the great friend. It's not how the Most High set it up. You can't lie and try to push some agenda, Christianity or something else, when you look at this overall landscape of this celebration of 250 years, and it's still the same thing. We got a 250, 400-year experiment. Imagine running an analysis on something. Some people do tests on something for 6 weeks to figure out a result. You've been running this example for 400 years, and it's still the same. People, you know what people say? They say, one day, in maybe 50 more years, we'll see it just level out and everything will be great. You get to the point where you're like, your brain it can't take anymore, right? It's like, that's why I mentioned the other day when I put that post up on Facebook about, it's like a Twilight Zone episode. It's just wild. People have this mentality, but nonetheless, for those that know, keep pushing, keep sending up prayers. It's a dangerous place to be. Second Ezra 7 says, it's a dangerous place to be. Keep praying, because you're going to need it. The Lord is with you. You're keeping commandments and understanding how this process works. Everything don't look great all the time. But keep staying in the light. All praise to the Most High. Man, it's a sad thing. I'm going to keep watch. I know his parents, Nolan Wells' parents was on Good Morning America, I think. He was talking to Michael Strahan. I saw somebody interview him. I'm going to watch the rest of it, but again, it don't look good. Them kids can be completely innocent. It's possible. It don't look like it. And again, that reputation is just bad. So, please read Wisdom of Solomon 12. Yes, sir. Wisdom of Solomon 12, verse 1. Got you. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 12, verse 1. For thine incorruptible spirit is in all things. Therefore chastenest thou them by little and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness they may believe on thee, O Lord. Like the same thing in 2 Maccabees 6. That hitting Because the Most High in 2 Maccabees 6 explains, I'm giving Israel, I don't judge them like I judge other people. The same way he's talking about in Hebrews about you being a son of the Lord. Y'all not bastards. I'm not trying to get you guys built up to the level of sin because the nations have built it, right? That's why judgment is coming so hard. But the Most High will hit us every now and again. And that hitting might be somebody losing their life. That hitting might be a car accident where you're okay. But all things are spiritual, right? Wisdom of Solomon 8 talks about that spirit moves through everything. You have to understand that you're viewing the earth what spirituality looks like, not weird conscious community, what the spirit of the Lord looks like in all arenas. So you can identify what's actually happening and figure out, I need to correct some things, or this is my season, right? Verse 3. For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land, whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcrafts and wicked sacrifices, and also those merciless murderers of children and devourers of man's flesh, and the feasts of blood, with their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew, and the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help, that the land which thou esteemest above all others, might receive a worthy colony of God's children. And this is what I was talking about earlier about 2nd Ezra 9, about, and this goes on to Isaiah 65. 65, yeah. The Lord, with great labor, is putting this cluster of grapes together. It's like the vineyard, right? Jeremiah talks about how in our beginning, how great we were supposed to look as the Most High is pulling us out of Egypt as a nation and cleaning us up. The Most High is doing his best to put Israel in a position to inherit, and as he says, is a gift to give you what's always been there waiting for you. But this takes time, and this takes a level of discipline that our people have to love the Lord more than they love themselves. They have to love the Lord more than they love the other nations. And this oftentimes doesn't look like this when you look out into the landscape of how our people function, because they will put and make every excuse under the sun to keep Valentine's Day, to justify their marriage to another nation. They'll say that that's evil, what you're saying, right? The Isaiah 5 thing. We're speaking evil, they're speaking good, but only one of our conversations aligns with the scriptures, right? Verse 8. Nevertheless, even those that sparest as men, and didst send wasps, forerunners of thine hosts, to destroy them by little and little. Going back into Egypt, right? Not that thou wast unable to bring the ungodly under the hand of the righteous in battle, or to destroy them at once with cruel beast or with rough word, but executing thy judgments upon them little and little, thou gavest them place of repentance, not being ignorant that they were naughty generation, and that their malice was bred in them, and that their cogitation would never be changed. This is the same we was talking about in Sirach 17. Use the exact same word of cogitation. It's like Proverbs 20. We have the ability to think deeply, right? That conscience, as people say. That spirit, there's something weird about, even if we don't have to talk about it, there's something weird about somebody watching an old woman carry her groceries in a house, and you just walk up on her and push her over the balcony. There's something visceral in you that says that's wrong, right? There's a way that the Most High made us. That's why I said it's a very dangerous thing. When a male lion rolls up on a female with cubs and they ain't his, he takes them out, starts over. That behavior for our people, this infantilizing, infanticide, this taking our children in the womb and taking them out, matching the behavior of beasts without cogitation, without understanding, is a sick thing to see, because people will do the back and forth about, I'm sleeping with whoever I want because we're just all animals. Then you compare them to an animal and be like, that's crazy. We're not animals. And people pick and choose like they do the same thing in Christianity. Some of the most evil people ever believe in Jesus Christ, right? The Lord does that to us. You see them in the wilderness as we came out. Hit them, number 17, I think, or number 16. You hit them, hit them, hit them with this, hit them with that. In order to not have this consistent evil nature get out of control, right? The same we was talking about last week about the Proverbs, when a righteous man falls 7 times. Don't fall into mischief. Those are two different things. And the Most High is trying to help us to not get to that point. Because as you consistently stay in a pattern of repetition, the Lord looks at us and be like, that's his reputation. That good name is supposed to carry when you're on the earth and when you die. Because you go on to meet somebody, right? That thing's supposed to carry its way out. We have the ability to think about these things, look and analyze as things are actually playing out in real time. Why do you keep trying to force love on people that are repaying you with hatred? Why do you keep doing that? You won't even take that level of love or commitment or persistence on your own people. You don't do it. You do it for the other nations. And this is a consistent, sick pattern that the Most High is trying to beat out of us, right? That chastisement, little by little by little. You would hope people would be like, you're telling me a little by little chastisement was the slave trade? Yeah, it was. It was. At some point, what do you got to do to get people to listen, right? I could just take you out, but the Most High, not a man, he shall lie. The Most High, like, I'm locked in and you locked in. I made this, I made this prayer and I made this promise. I gotta fulfill it, and there's gonna be a remnant here that's going to take this promises on. Hopefully, you trying to put yourself in a position of being that remnant, but our people gotta understand that. Verse 11: For it was a cursed seed from the beginning. Neither didst thou, for fear of any man, give them pardon for those things wherein they sin. For who shall say, what hast thou done? Or who shall withstand thy judgment? Who shall accuse thee for the nations that perish, whom thou hast made? Or who shall come to stand against thee to be revenged for the unrighteous men? And people do that, right? It's a consistent thing. God's evil because he done this, right? Second Ezra talks about the man that the Most High made was in a particular place. They ain't speak against him until this pattern of sin popped up, and now everybody got something to say. Now everybody want to operate a certain way. Now they want to tell God about himself. And you see this pattern consistently across the board with our people again, because it's this speaking is hard to get into them when we still have the ability to be able to rationalize different things that we see. 2 plus 2 is 4. It just is the way it is. It's just basic and it's simple to understand. That rebellious spirit or reprobate mind will put you at odds with the Lord, where it's very difficult to comprehend the things that the Most High is trying to put in place to give you what you need and not necessarily what a person wants, because those wants will destroy you. It'll walk you down and it'll destroy you. You need these things, and that medicine might not taste great going down, but trust me, whenever the S hits the fan, you're going to regret not getting yourself together. You can joke, I don't care, I'm an atheist. Those that know, and I think those that know that play like they don't know, are on a crash course for reality. And you are going to regret it. And the Most High has set all these things up, because the Most High can just look at you and ask you, please give me the excuse that you got. I want to hear a good enough one for me not to take judgment on you. There's nothing you can say. You got tape. The only person that can get out of something that they did with even being on tape is the white man in America. That's the only way. That's a whole different scenario, right? Because they got evil judges in the way they set things up. But these things are consistently going to happen to us unless we accept the program how it is. There is plenty of sisters you can marry in your own nation. There's plenty of brotherhood that you can build with your own people. We have the intellect. Some of us got the finances. but we just don't have the understanding of how to put things aside egotistically, take off that spirit of pride, and understand it's next man looking after the next man. It's a very hard concept for our people to grasp, because you be on the street, talk to people. I'm worried about me. I'm not worried about that. I'm taking care of mine. And it's like, well, that's good. You consistent. Take that mentality and just open it up a bit. Worry about the next man. Because if he's looking out for you, and nobody can trust nobody. But if we have the law, there's nothing you can't get around it, right? The understanding of the scriptures, it's like a buffer or a safety net. Even Sirach 12 talks about you're supposed to understand who you're doing good to. It's supposed to be to the godly man. If that man don't want to pay you, the Most High will. Set it up perfectly. Repay your debts. You got all kinds of different things that puts us in a box where it's a cohesive system for us to build with us and nobody else. And it has to be implemented. And people have to have judgments to understand you're walking this way, you got to walk this other direction. You walking too much to the right, I'm going to knock you back on the path, right? The same thing in I'm gonna come right back so Doc to finish this out. Exodus 23. Yeah, Exodus 23 and verse 20. It says, "Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, and to bring thee into the place wherein I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice, provoke him not. For he will not pardon your transgressions, because my name is in him," right? The angel set before us to keep us in the way. And there's that little hitting. Hopefully it's what we consider to be little by little. Chastening, correct you. You off, chasten, correct you. The Lord doesn't do that with the other nations. They rule, and they rule hard. And when they build that thing up, the Most High come crash it. Just same thing you read in Egypt. The way Pharaoh got taken out, Esau got his day coming quickly, right? Back to Wisdom of Solomon 12, verse 13. "For neither is there any God but thou that carest for all, to whom thou mightest show that thy judgment is not unright. Neither shall king or tyrant be able to set his face against thee, for any whom thou hast punished. For as much then as thou art righteous thyself, thou orderest all things righteously, thinking it not agreeable with thy power to condemn him that have not deserved to be punished." Man, that's strong. That's the same thing with the Job thing, right? Job kept asking this question, and he understood it. He understood his position. Like, what can you do? What can you tell the Lord, right? Like, you judging the Most High based on certain things, and it's like, well, give me your case. What position are you in to be able to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? You didn't make this system. You don't know these spirits. I made them. I created them. I put them here. So the way that the Lord understands thoroughly his creation, as Ezra's got hit with that, have you gone too far over your skis? You think that you love the people more than the Lord love them? A father knows how to chasten his kids. So the Most High has us in his position for a particular reason, and we just need to, you need to read and understand what correction is. I think that's Proverbs 27. Evil men don't understand judgment. They don't get it. So whatever you say to them and whatever you tell them, they're like, this is an evil God we dealing with. No, it's not. It's an evil people we dealing with. And how do you handle evil people? What do you do with them? Should we just run them? That's what America does. What do we do with them? What do you do? People talk about if we have our own country. Okay, what's your judgment? If this man comes in your house and assaults your wife, what's your judgment? If this man stole something, what's your judgment? Only thing that they're going to conceive in their mind, maybe subconsciously don't even know it, is they're going to go back to America's practices. And then they're going to shift judgment based on, well, my cousin did it, so let's not throw the book at him. You can't do it like that. It has to be equal across the board. Look what Christ went through and didn't do nothing. That's crazy work. He had a purpose and it was fulfilled. But if you juxtapose his persecution with people that's wicked, it's crazy. How can you make the excuse for the person that's wicked when the righteous man never did nothing, went through the worst chastisement of us all? So the thought process, you have to calibrate what you're seeing and process it how it is, right? It's like the Matrix. You're seeing this code. What is the code saying? This keeps happening. What does that mean? Why us and only us to this extent? Why? And then nobody got no answers. And the scriptures are there to let us know, right? I've been told I won't worship a God that doesn't love everybody. Crazy work. You open the book and show me where the Lord said that at. John 3:16 is not going to work. Give me something else. It has to get to the point where you step back and you see what's happening and you're like, man, it don't matter what I do. They just don't give me the same love I give them. So now you're getting somewhere. So now what do? The only thing, it seems like we got a history, at least when we were separated. Things went kind of well. Do we need to get back to that? It seems prospering happened when you severed yourself from the other people. But they just burned the cities down. So we're getting back to that point spiritually and forever. And you have to adopt the mentality of segregation, because that's what the kingdom of heaven is. Fully segregation. You can deal. Other nations gonna be there, but not to the capacity that America has you believe in this dream. So our people need to conceptualize this, read it, look at history, process it, and accept it. It has to be accepted. You can't reject the system the only way it works. You're not going to have your car and be like, I decide to put orange juice in the engine. It's going to work if I believe it. That's not the way the mechanics are. The Most High set the car up the way it is. The Most High set the world up the way it is. It just is what it is. You have to accept it, or the Most High going to move you out the way. That little bit of chastisement is going to turn into something severe. So hopefully you get on the right thing, the right side of things, and your brothers or your sisters can corrupt you before the Father get home. That's the point. All praise to the Most High, y'all. Happy Sabbath. Excellent 15 verses, Shadak. Lord's will, y'all, next week. Happy Sabbath. I'm going to keep my eyes on this thing. Pray for their family, man. I always hope when I see things like this, through the trials and tribulations, it typically sends people's minds in a certain direction. And just like Ecclesiastes 7, contemplation happens a lot more when somebody loses their life versus everything going in good in a celebration. It sucks that it has to come to that. But it's a normalcy in this place. So, Lord's will next week, y'all. Happy Sabbath. I pray everybody's doing well. Keep praying for me. I'm going to keep praying for y'all, y'all. Happy Sabbath. Shalom, y'all. Most High in Christ bless.